What's up, everybody? I'm Rodney Mathews, aka Real Estate Rod, and we're so excited to have you back here at Read the Tape, to show where we talk about entrepreneur success and failures and get into the humanity of it all.
Yes.
Mike, what's up, man? Tell me about your weekend. What'd you end up doing?
Well, I don't know if it was that interesting. Went out to dinner with some good friends, actually. The friend we're going to be interviewing today. It was so kind of funny because we went on our Duffy, these little electric boats. The fun part about boats is they never work. It drives me crazy. So I had checked the boat in the morning. My wife had said to me, make sure the boat works. So everyone came down, everything was loaded up, and it's like a pain in the neck to load everything with the food and the wine and all this stuff. And suddenly the boat didn't leave the dock. Jeff was laughing at me. There's a cable, and Jeff will talk about this. I had to plug it into this sort of port on the dock, and I kept trying to jam it in, and I wasn't really thinking. I was trying to jam it into the wrong outlet. It was obvious that it wasn't going to go in. So he's standing next to me, and he said, how about the one next to it?
Oh,
you know when you do something really stupid, and I like plugged it right in. So yeah,
Mike.
So that's what I did my weekend.
That's okay.
How about yourself?
We all have one of those moments, every now and then, bro. I'll give you grace this time. So with me, I did a couple things. I hosted an open house for a coworker down in Orange County, in Aliso Viejo, and it was a condo. So those are always, a little iffy. And I was just warned, hey, can you put the plugins in because there might be a cat smell. But I'm not a cat guy. I'm a dog guy. I'm a dog dad, proud dog dad. Shout out Jack if you're listening at home. So I got a 3-hour block of hosting it. I'm cool. The last 10 minutes, I'm by myself, and all of a sudden, I see something peek its head around the corner, and it's the cat. And so I start freaking out because I didn't know what to think of it. It's multicolored, black and yellow. So I'm just scared. And like I said, I hate cats. So this thing starts creeping up at me and starts wiggling like this and just smooth creep. But I hate cats with a passion, so I had to yell at it, hey, back up, please don't get close, go back to where you came from. So he circles the entire condo and just looks at me from every different angle in the condo. So yeah, it was just a scary day for me in that last 10
Do you have
minutes.
this on film? I need to see this.
I captured a picture, sent it to my girl. She knows how much I hate cats. And so I just said, babe, this thing creeped up at me the last 10 minutes of my open house. She's like, what did you do? I said I did what anyone else would do. I ran out of there immediately. But then after that, so Game of Thrones is back, okay? I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones guy, okay? But House of the Dragon Season 2, big Game of Thrones guy. There we go. I know people are shouting out in the back. Audience will comment. I hosted a little mini party, okay? And we already got our dragon eggs set up. I'm a super nerd at heart.
So you really
I'm into it.
Wow.
I didn't wear my Game of Thrones socks, but I truly care about the show. And so, yeah, Season 2 came out. Episode 1, it was nuts. I make sure phones are off, lights are off.
Oh, you're serious?
Yeah, fireplace is on, candles on. I'm in the moment, okay? And so the final scene, I'm not going to ruin it or spoil it. All I'm going to say is the sound because people will know what I'm talking about. But Game of Thrones is a crazy show, so I highly suggest you watch it.
All right, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
And I will never bring a cat.
No. No cats, okay? Michael brought his dog. We're cool with that. No cats here on the show. Please, I'm begging you. Obviously, it's a quick trigger warning if you couldn't tell by now, but I would like to give a side disclaimer for all the cat lovers out there. I'm really sorry about my cat slander. I'm just a very strong dog person, and I'm very proud dog dad. And I know that it's always been cat versus dog, but it doesn't have to be like that, okay? This is a very inclusive environment with Mike Shapiro and myself. So all my cat lovers and my cat audience, we don't want to lose you, okay? I just want to give that side note.
This is fantastic.
Just want to
Cat
give that
slander,
side
a whole new thing. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I come to you for advice all the time, but now that we're here on air, let's talk about it. As a newer agent, I want to know what you're telling your newer agents in terms of lead generation, right? And the difference between cold call, warm calls. How can you create that on your own? I want to get that from you.
So I tell them to run from the industry. No, I'm kidding.
Let me get out of here.
Yeah. So that's a great question, Rodney, and I get that question daily, actually probably 10 times a day, because real estate agents are always looking for companies that provide them leads. So how do you create leads, or what do I do, or what am I doing on a daily basis to create that value? So I think that there's not one thing for what are the best leads. What I do think is interesting is that, we've discussed during some of these shows, is that things always come back. They come back differently. So we know that we're in another time series. What I mean by time series, you're starting your career after the time series of COVID where like everything sold like crazy and there was low interest rates, to going in an environment where the liquidity was dropping like crazy because the interest rates were so high and the prices are so high and the actual inventory is low. So you're now in a period of time which is very difficult, where there's low transactional volume, going into another space or another time series. Like, what does that look like, and how do I prepare myself for the future? So the question is multifold, because the traditional ways that people did this, which is like, I'm just going to meet as many people as I can, or going to make as many phone calls as I can, or I'm going to do mail as much as I can. I think that some of this is not as effective any longer. So I think a lot of it is much more personal.
Time to change.
I tell people it's time to change. Like, what do you do? So a lot of these traditional methodologies, a lot of real estate agents, for example, you're really capable in social media. I mean, you're media trained. I mean, you know what you're doing. So that's a critical piece of the puzzle for you. People know you already. People want to know their real estate agents. So you're already 10 steps ahead of everyone. Because they know you. You were on a show. You had to be. It was very personal. You were exposed from that perspective. So like that's something that I would work with as far as like getting more business. So I think that usage of social media is a critical piece of the puzzle for you. I think a lot of these services are good. There's all sorts of services, from like phone calls to what are hot leads, or Zillow has all sorts of lead generation.
Premier program.
Exactly, Premier or Zillow Flex. I have several agents using Zillow Flex, and they love it. It can be effective, but in the end, it really is exposure. Okay, lead generation is exposure to the real estate business. Is you being omnipresent everywhere and making as many contacts as you possibly can within your network, outside your network. So even during coming to work today or coming to the podcast, who did you meet? Did you talk to the person when you got a coffee? It's constantly talking to people and interacting. In fact, I was just on I don't mean to go on like this. I was just on a plane coming back from Cabo. I was sitting on Southwest Airlines. You're on top of one another. There was a person, like there was nobody in between. There was a person on the end, on the window. And of course, you start chatting. And the next thing you know, he was looking for a commercial space, even though I'm not in the commercial business, and he wanted to buy a $9 or $10 million building in the Inland Empire here. And so, just because chatting with somebody, getting to know what he wanted to do, I had a lead to give to somebody, which I did. They're actually showing today. They're showing multiple buildings, and I understand he's actually going to bid on something. So that's the kind of thing. I don't know actually where they're looking. I'll find out. But I think that's the kind of thing that you want to do, like always, all the time. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it definitely does. And I know that we'll probably discuss it at another time too, because I know you're really great with building your brand. And I know obviously a lot of newer agents are trying to do the same thing and trying to compete with people who have had a built-in brand in some of these markets for the last 20 years. So yeah, we'll discuss it another time, but I really appreciate it because, that's the $1 million question for every newer agent. And so I had to come to the $1 Million Man. And so it's the right place to be.
Yeah.
It's the right place to be. Okay.
Absolutely.
He's humble, but no, we're really grateful for advice like that.
What is the key ingredient? They need to like you.
Yeah. Personality. Like they're buying from you, right? Like, yes, they're buying a product, but they're buying it from you. They can buy it from anybody, but specifically from you.
That's right. You're way ahead.
That's true.
I expect huge things for you.
I appreciate
Biggest
it.
realtor in Southern California.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We can go ahead and get started with our guest today, Jeff Garrett, special friend of my co-host here, Mike Shapiro. Mike, you want to go ahead and let us know a little bit more about Jeff?
I'm going to go ahead and let you know. So Jeff's been a good friend of mine for about a month or so? Yeah, like years.
Special bond?
Special bond. He lives in my neighborhood. We see each other during the summer. I think that Jeff is one of the most interesting and successful entrepreneurs that I know. Basically, Jeff owns New Mexico. I loved saying that. He'll define what that means. So, Jeff, tell me, when I say you own New Mexico, what does that mean?
I got to know. Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
I'm Jeff Garrett. I have a company. A company called Garrett Development Corporation, and we own 53,000 acres in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
How many did you say?
53,000. Oh my God!
So that makes you the largest private landowner, or?
Definitely in the region of the Albuquerque MSA, we're definitely the largest landowner.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So let's see how you started. So this is all about like entrepreneurs. Like, how did you start? You know, you effectively came from, I wouldn't say nothing, but you made this all yourself. So this is all about like what was generated this. Like, so how did it start out?
I started out working for Presley Homes, William Lyon Homes, right out of college. And I learned, I was in their land development department. So the job was to buy land and build lots so we could build homes on them and sell them. So that's kind of where I got my start. My first 5 years I was with that company.
So you worked for somebody at that point?
Correct.
Was it always in your mind to do something else? Or was it always in your mind to like be in your own business? Like, is that the
Yeah,
process?
I always knew I wasn't a corporate guy. I knew I would. I'm like you. I wouldn't fit in.
It's
I'm not going to fit in.
Basically, I've gotten fired from every job I've ever had.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, I left to go to grad school, actually. I left the home builder and I went to USC they have a master's in real estate development.
Oh, nice.
And so I left Albuquerque and moved to LA.
Are you
I got
originally
married.
from Albuquerque?
Yes, I grew up there.
Okay, got it.
I moved and went to USC.
Can't
Not
mix
U-
those two
not
up.
UCLA.
Don't mix those two.
And
No.
and they have a great master's of real estate development program. I had just gotten married, and my wife and I sold our house and everything and moved. We were 27, and that was a great 3 years experience working there. While I was there, I met a group of guys. There was about 7 employees at a company called Evergreen Development. I was the 8th employee, and we became the country's largest Walgreens developer.
Wow.
So while I was there, we did 254 Walgreens. We did 154 Fresh and Easies.
That's amazing. Did you get free prescriptions? Like, is there a benefit?
No. I did not get free prescriptions, but all the sunblock I needed.
Yeah, that's great.
Obviously, I didn't use
Yeah,
it.
that's good. Your skin does look really good.
Yeah, thank you. So that was a really good experience. I had 2 partners that had a very humanistic approach.
What do you mean by that?
They did a good job of reading everyone's personality. Like there was only 8 of us, and kind of fostering that and moving us forward into playing towards our strengths.
Okay.
And they gave us a lot of rope too. Like there was 8 people, and like in 1 year in 1998, I think we did 54 Walgreens in 1 year, and it took, that company grew to the size of 85 employees, which is a big development company.
And it started with 8, just 8.
It started
employees.
with really just 2 partners
Gotcha.
in the 70s, but yeah, eventually in the late 90s there was just 8 of us.
And was Evergreen, was it all commercial real estate or
Yep.
residential too? Okay.
Commercial,
Got it.
commercial real estate.
Okay.
And it was the drugstore boom was going on, and we had a client with deep pockets, and we did California, Arizona, Seattle, Portland.
Wow.
So it was a great
good
place. It
areas.
was a great place to learn. I really can't say enough nice things about that experience. It was
So
very good.
was a spark there? Like, you always knew that you wanted to be in your own thing. You were just trying to learn as fast as you could, and make those relationships.
Correct. And I became a partner when I was like 28 there.
Wow.
And so I got that experience of how to run a company and how to run payroll, how to do all the other
So
stuff.
at 28, you became an equity partner at the world's largest Walgreens.
Yeah,
developer.
the country's, the
Yeah,
world's,
I like to say
world's
world.
headquarter.
Yeah, world's headquarter.
Yes, I did.
And how long were you there for again?
Until 2009.
Okay.
So I left during the recession.
So Jeff, you brought up a really good point with your company being very humanistic, right? And very hands-on and caring about employees more than just being employees, but actually as human beings. And I know Mike and I have talked about that, especially in your book, Read the Tape, which we've discussed as well.
Yeah.
And more about...
Very important book.
A very important book. We love it a lot.
The Bible.
Really.
Next up, number 2. But yeah, we want to make sure that we do discuss a little bit more of that situational awareness and how someone could walk into a room and we're actually caring about the human beings that we're talking about
Yeah,
face to face and just
absolutely.
saying people as numbers and employees. Can you just expand a little bit about that after we talked with Jeff about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like Jeff hit on something big, humanistic approach. I think it was always important to me to read the room. You can't ever do it alone. You have team building. So I want Jeff to sort of expand on that because, for his own career and what did that mean to him? Like, how motivating was that? He wanted to stay. So if you can expand on that, that'd be great.
Well, yeah, I think on that humanistic thing, there's been multiples of people in my life that have been good mentors. When I was back at the home builder, I had two consultants that worked for me. One was Richard Bennett and one gentleman named Charlie Caldwell. One was an contractor and one was a civil engineer. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was 23 years old. I didn't know what I was doing. And I thought, how am I going to build these lots? How am I going to put 300 lots on the ground at a time every year so we have enough homes to build, And so I went to them, and they were a consultant. I said, hey, I know technically you work for me, but I don't know anything. And would you guys mentor me through this? Like how do we build these projects and stuff? And I learned at that age, asking someone for help is good, and people really actually enjoy it.
That's really true. That's like you always need to ask. I always say that too.
Yeah.
Like don't ever not ask for help. If you don't know what you're doing, or you should always look for that expertise.
There's always that stigma, even growing up, like back in school, you never want to ask. Like you never want to ask a stupid question. People get so nervous about it, but the more you ask, the more you know, and the more you learn. So
it's always so funny. I always it's akin to, when you're driving the car, why don't you ask for directions? How we're all the same way. You don't ask for directions. It's hilarious. And then it takes you so much longer. So it's sort of like when I came to the studio today, I should have asked for directions and I went to the wrong building.
It happened to me last time, so I'm going to give you grace. Next time it happens, I'm going to roast you. You already know.
Exactly.
We talked about how you're in New Mexico, right? And so with that...
He's here now.
He's here now.
Well, he's in Arizona, excuse me. Well, yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
got it. But the development...
Yeah, if the IRS is watching, I live in Arizona. If California State Tax and Rev is on the... I live in Arizona.
His residence is not California. Just for anyone's...
I was tax purposes here now. I'm getting nervous. I was like, I'll just let you explain it.
Yeah. Really.
Oh, so your business...
So I live in Arizona. Okay. Raised my children there.
What part?
In Paradise Valley.
Okay.
That's fancy.
It's paradise.
Very fancy.
Hence the name.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a normal town, just like anything else. Yeah. It's nothing fancy. Oh, goodness. So I live there. Gotcha. We do a lot of business in Arizona. We have 3,000 acres in Arizona. We have 1 million square feet of retail buildings and stuff, and self-storage buildings in Arizona, too. And we do land development there. And there's another one, like in Arizona, when I moved from California to Arizona, we'd had children. It's just an easier lifestyle, so we moved there. I went and I found out, I just started walking around town, introducing myself, meeting people, and asking people, who's the best land broker in town? And then they give me the name, I write down, who's the next best? And I would just take a list. I'm like, I need to know the top 5 people in land broker guys in town. And so I got the list, and then I just went and called them all up and said, hey, I got your name and number.
How important is then to do the research? How important is to know the landscape? How important is for you to have become this successful? You're young at this point in your life. That you did do that research. You just didn't go in, sort of blazing.
Yeah. I guess this kind of comes down to easy, what I was kind of call cowboy logic, or keep it simple. Why would I go out and try to meet all 500 brokers when I'm not trying to be snotty about it, but why wouldn't I just try to meet the top 5 and then I can build off of that? Not that the other people are relevant, but why wouldn't I try to meet with them first?
Yeah,
and so I became very close friends with the top land broker in the state. We're talking, here's a guy that made $90 million one year selling land.
Jeez.
That's good.
Selling land.
That's good commission.
That's a good, he sold $3 billion worth of land in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big time.
That's a lot of taxes.
That's a lot of land.
That's a lot of taxes.
That's a ton of land.
So he does
Does he live in Texas now? I'm kidding.
So he became a close friend, and he's been a great mentor too. Because Mike's been an entrepreneur for a long time too, and you need a sounding board, and you need somebody that you can go to that's that you trust, but maybe he's not really getting any compensation from you, or not really has nothing in it other than they care about you. and to sit you
that's
off to the
so
side
important.
and give you good advice. And
So the motivation, or like, what is that relationship built on? And you both do better in the long run.
correct.
That's the special part. I mean, Mike, that's what you do. Obviously, we talk about that between me and you, but everyone that you mentor in your space, it's like, we've already had guests on here. It's like Mike just wanted to help. Like, he didn't ask for anything in return. He just wanted to help. And so I think that that's really special, when people are still
think it's
capable
important.
of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's really important, because I think it comes back. I don't think you motivated. I'm sure you're the same as I am. I don't think you're motivated because you just want to help people, but it does come back. It's not that you expect it to come back. It just comes back, that you're just doing it in a selfless way. I want to help you. How does this work? So.
Yeah.
And that's been an important part of we talk, privately all the time. It's an important part of your career, is that you always helping people elevate, or you making them the best that they can be. And so let's talk about that. I think that's a really important part of being an entrepreneur, like opening the door, the windows for people.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't do it all yourself. Everyone starts off trying to do it, all the jobs themselves. And really, it's better, and as I've gotten older, to learn to get into my lane and do what I do best, and let other people do what they can do better than I, and then foster that and share with them, hey, here's a way you can add real value in the company, and get equally compensated for that too, and move forward. I've purposely kept my company now very small. There's only 8 of us, and I know everyone's wives and their kids and everything, and the rule around our office is treat everybody with respect and like a family member. And
yeah, I've seen that. I've been around some of your employees, and you have this really wonderful. It's like they're family to you, literally.
Absolutely.
I had lunch with them. We all worked out together. I mean, it was a good experience. That's important.
That definitely goes to show you and your character, and especially you being humble enough to, like we said, relate to your employees and your coworkers and not just see them as a number. So I think that that's really impressive, especially building that friendship and that bond after all these years. These people still want to work for you and work with you, and that's special, man.
Thank you.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
That's impressive, Jeff.
So, Jeff, you have a terrific sense of humor, and I think we share a lot in common regarding life, business. How important is that, like, to be able to laugh at, like, success, failures, or things that you do because, suddenly you feel like there's an ego going on, or like, we've all been in these places.
Yeah.
So how important is that?
It's really important. I try not to take myself too seriously. Like I was embarrassed when you asked me to come do this.
I know. I told you, like, don't worry.
Yeah. So we joke around a lot at the office. We try to keep humor and everything. I try to keep humor in my relationships with. So development's very politically driven nowadays. You have to get mayors and city council people to vote for your project. I don't know why zoning has become the most important topic at city council hearings.
Fascinating topic.
You would think
zoning.
it'd be educating children or feeding the hungry or something, but no, it's a zoning. It's a Starbucks case or a self-storage case or something ridiculous. But but to have those relationships, you have to have a sense of humor. No one wants to go hang out with somebody that's just
so the likability,
kind of like Mike's been so far.
Yeah, nobody wants to hang out with.
Liven up a little bit.
Liven up.
All right. I will try to be much happier.
But you have to have that sense of humor, and that's where you succeed too. Walking in a room, taking control of your sense of humor.
Yes, I think that's so important. Like, I think it's important to be able to laugh at yourself, and I think it's important to be able to laugh with others. I don't want to laugh at people, but with others, because like it's just the experience, like the business experience or the life experience, and so that brings me to success, failures, and I always say that I only had to be right 51% of the time, and that 1% is a great living, and so I don't know if you believe in that same concept, and so can you talk about that? Can you talk about like, hey, have you ever had a failure, or you've been one of those people who won the lottery, and that happens. We've had people we've met in our lives are like, wow, that's amazing. You won the lottery. Yeah. Or maybe they're lying. I know they're lying. Basically they're lying, but you're going to be honest.
Yeah. No, I have not won the lottery. It's been slow. The success has been slow. Went back when I was a partner at the Evergreen Company. We were very successful and made a lot of money. And when the recession hit, we gave a lot of it back, about all of it. So when I was 37, I basically started over. I had 4 business partners, and we had a lot of employees, and we had to do some terrible things. We had to lay people off, and it was a difficult, dark hour. And I remember telling people when I was laying them off, like, well, business isn't going well. We all know the economy's bad and stuff, and so we're going to have to lay you off, and we apologize, wish it was a different circumstance. And then I'd say, and just so you know, I'm next. And they all thought I was joking or whatever. And I'm like, no, seriously. And that was kind of a tough day to go home and tell my wife that I quit my job.
I'm sure that's
I was
tough.
a partner. Everybody's like, why would you quit? You're one of the owners. And just having 4 partners and going through like the Great Recession wasn't a comfortable situation. And
how did you get through that? Like, so, this is like something that we talk about, like, people spiral. So like they hit a wall and then like, that's it. Like the airbags go off and then they walk away. Like I can't deal with it. I'm not replacing the airbags. I'm not going to do. So how do you get through that? Like what motivated you, or that wasn't even part of the equation? Like I'm just going to keep moving.
Well, I'm very determined and persistent, so I wake up every day and get up, and I believe a man needs a place to go after breakfast. So
the bathroom?
The bathroom, and then to the office.
Yeah.
But like, I would try to get out of the house, so that one's important. So being persistent helped. I have a very good wife. I have very
you have
good
an amazing
children.
wife.
I have very
amazing children.
Very good children, and I will tell you that my wife and I joke now that probably some of our happiest times have been our brokest times together, even when we were young
truth?
and had no money, or even when we
Right.
had those 3 kids and we were trying to figure out how to do all of that.
That is so true. I think that I think about that myself. Like some of the happiest times are when you're the struggle. Like, what is it about the struggle that creates that happiness? Or maybe we just remember it as being happy and we were really miserable. We kept moving forward.
No.
Maybe we're just like,
There's times where you gotta find happiness, right? Like you're already down so bad and you don't want to just stay on that level of struggle. And that was the same thing for me. Back when I was playing football, I was living with 6 guys in a 2-bedroom apartment. And we had cockroaches and we're eating ramen noodles every night, So I'm just like, but those were some of the best days of my life, and those memories that you guys have, it just keep you going, and it motivates you to get to the level that you guys are at today.
6 guys in an apartment. Holy
it was crazy. Yeah, college football, junior college football, it's crazy. That's a conversation for another time. But just know, like we discussed, and
we have to
relate
explore
on
this.
Everyone's been in a struggle and been down at some point of their lives, but those could be some of the happiest moments of your life is just going through that struggle, because there is beauty in the struggle. Shout out J. Cole. But
absolutely,
there's a great moment that you could find in time, and just being like, wow, I was down so bad, but I had to rise up. I had to stay positive and figure out my goals and my plans and get straight to it. Yeah, so it's special.
It is true. I think
that
the struggle is as important as the success. I think that's really what makes people who they are, and I think people forget that. And I think sometimes when people have these struggles, maybe you have seen this probably in your career. We all have seen this, where the struggle, whether it's through business or financial or healthcare or whatever, and if suddenly it changes them, they can't function, they can't get through it.
Yeah.
Like, so what is that thing that everyone shares to get through that, where they go to the other side? Is it just the drive? Is it perseverance?
Yeah.
Is it, I have no other choice?
Yeah.
What is it? Like for you, what was that drive? Like, I'm just going to do this.
Well, I had 3 children. And a
you go.
wife.
Yeah.
I was married. I mean, what are you going to do? Somebody had to get up and go make money and figure it out.
Exactly.
That era is an interesting time too. That Great Recession. I bet you guys see it in the licensing world, in the brokerage world. Is a lot of people my age. So I'm 53, but a lot of people that happened when I was 37. 36 to 40, let's say. A lot of people my age went and started selling medical supplies. They got out of real estate. They went and started doing different jobs. They pivoted to different careers. And because of that, I in my age group, there's a huge gap of there's not a lot of people to fill the jobs of the senior staff at these home building companies or at the big REITs and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you think that 08, that period of time where people really, it's formative for careers. The fact that 08 sort of destroyed or disrupted the entire real estate, really,
it destroyed it.
So you feel like, so that's really an advantage to you.
Oh yeah, it worked out well for me. I mean, I just kind of stuck with it. I didn't know any different.
So you're really an expert, and most of the people at your age group are really, there's hardly anybody available.
I wouldn't go that far as expert.
I like expert.
As soon as we talked about '08 and the recession, that brought up some memories in my mind. I was just in high school back then, and I just remember as a kid, we moved around, I think 3 or 4 times during that year alone. And as a kid, I didn't know any better. I'm just like, Mom and Dad, why do we keep moving? Like, what's going on? But now that I'm a realtor, I'm a real estate agent now, and we're back kind of in a crazy market again, in a landscape. And so I'm wondering, your viewpoint on what's going on now with our real estate market, and being a newer agent, as someone who is trying to connect with developers such as yourself. What are some advice that you can give to newer agents to connect on that level and say, hey, even though I'm in residential, you might be in commercial, who do you know that could help me find new spaces to go sell and get new listings?
Okay, I'll address the first part of that first. That's a good question. First of all, I don't think that we're in the same, we don't have the same, I know we don't have the same problem we had like in '08 now. So stay calm.
Of course.
This is a good time.
Yeah.
But
we are calm.
Yeah.
So listeners like, what do I do?
Like 08, there was a whole loss of velocity of the dollar.
Yeah.
So anybody that had the dollar was holding the dollar because you were afraid if you spent it, you might not make that dollar back, that you would never be able to replace that dollar. We're not in that economy today. The economy today, you'll notice there's a lot of transaction. There's a lot of velocity of money. So velocity of money is a big deal when it comes to real estate. Debt is what we're feeling today. The unwinding of debt is a very painful experience. And so we're going from 4% debt to 8% debt. So you're literally doubling your interest costs on these assets. That's probably crushing values on real estate 25 to 40%.
I want to talk about, this is like a great topic because I think this is so important. The velocity of everything. So like the velocity of money. I love that line. And, it's true. So it's like, I've always said, don't get in front of the train, wait for the thing to stop at the track. Like wait for the thing to stop at the station, because if you're going to get in front of the train, it's going to roll over you. You're not going to stop the train. So that is critical. And anyone who's investing or decision process or reading the tape, not to go back to that. So how do you analyze that? Like the velocity of money, how do you figure, and when do you know that it's enough, or can you pick that time? Like when do you know when the train stopped at the station?
That's a good question. So I used to tell my broker friend, the one I shared that had made all the money, that if he would just write B for buyers and S for sellers at the top of his piece of paper, and every time he got a phone call, make just a little tick so he could count how many buyers versus sellers. And he had, and I know back then, he's like, I don't need the piece of paper. They're all sellers. I don't have any buyers. So I think that some of that velocity, right, is matching the buyer and the seller together, right? So you got to do that. I think it's really just being an expert in your market, right? Know what houses are selling for how much and where the last transaction went down. Now that is the rear view mirror, right? Like you're only saying what happened in the past.
So how intuitive is that? So everyone talks about it, like I shouldn't say I'm tired of it, but everyone's like AI and all this software to like sort of calculate the velocity of money. How intuitive is that for you? Like it's really kind of your experience and exposure, and you're making the decisions. You're not necessarily going to listen to any kind of program associated with this, right?
No, I'm not. The AI is really important for me on doing supply studies, demand studies, stuff like that. But when it comes to like valuing a piece of property or something, I know what it costs to build the building. I know what it costs I'm going to get my debt at. I know all of those factors. So I would never let AI fill out a spreadsheet for me or any of that good stuff on like doing the financial analysis.
So your own artificial intelligence. I'm artificially intelligent. It's really, really important here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's your gut, and you're going to get that as you start selling and you start having more transactions. I think for you, it's really like, hey, learn your market. Where are you going to specialize? Like learn that market, be the expert in that market. see your smiling face around that neighborhood all day, every day, and then you're going to start making friends. And as you make those friends, they're going to call you for business. Okay. They're going to call you and say, hey, what have you learned? Or what's going on with my neighbor's house? Or how much did they sell it for? Or what's it look like inside?
Yeah.
I've always been interested. And you're going to make these friendships.
Okay.
And with that friendship, there's no business.
Yeah,
there's really no business.
I love what you brought up early, too, with cowboy logic. Is that what it was? Where it's like, logic. Just keep it simple and just go face to face, and like how you would meet people in the neighborhood and just say, hey, give me your top 5 or give me your top 2 or anything like that. Like, I do want to go back to old school way of thought and just go like, let me go to coffee shops and just drop off my business card, but also sit there for an hour and see who I meet and talk to and try to get some warm leads from that. So I love when you mention something like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a place for the phones and the AI and all that. But I don't think you would want to go all deep on that. Where that's for the derivatives guys that are shredding pennies and stuff like that.
Even then, those models always fail. So the models, effectively the situation we're in right now, AI would have never predicted the elongated economic situation we're in right now. So like they're not lowering rate. Everyone is waiting for rates to lower.
Exactly.
It's because the real estate business is in a funk.
Yeah.
Even though prices really haven't come down. Yeah. There's some areas that are breaking, maybe tertiary areas, but for the most part, like a property, maybe you'd agree with me or not agree with me, it's really not moved. So there's doesn't make any sense. So any kind of modeling would have looked at past performance and would have said, either the prices would have broken at this point and the economy would have slowed or something would have broken to change the direction, or we would have been in a recession. So these models don't work. You're going to follow your gut. So the train's still not at the station.
Yeah.
Right?
You know where AI is going to make a huge impact? Is power. Like power and water are such pivotal parts of like every community and where we're at. And AI is going to take the power, and we don't have enough power. So all the projects I'm working on right now, I'm running around trying to get the power companies to build substations and bring in more power to the area.
It's telling you like this is going to work.
Because the data centers where the AI is coming from, the data centers that run that, one data center is about 280,000 square feet, let's say. And that one data center needs 60 megawatts of power. 60 megawatts of power.
How many Teslas is that?
Yeah, it's about that can serve 48,000 homes.
Wow.
One data center. And they won't build one building at a time. They want to build 10 at a time or 20 at a time. So we're talking about enough. Like if you see one data center project, and they have them in Arizona now, that are like Microsoft just bought 300 acres for $300 million.
Jeez.
That's a big number. I mean, this is a really big number.
Wow. Where's that?
It's up in Surprise.
Wow.
And
so they recomp that whole area.
Oh, well, just as long as you can get the power and you have a data center site. So you know what I'm working on trying to get. Oh, my land is, I want data centers, so I'm chasing power. But before power, we were chasing water. And water was always been.
So we're investing in power now.
Power and water. Power and
that.
Water. And I think, so how does AI drive some of it? Like everybody using their phones and all that. A lot of this is changing how the real estate's going to be used and what we need for the real estate to be used, and then the values for it. The values on the self-storage. I know my partners and I used to own it. We sold a piece in Arizona. It's 200 acres. It's going to sell this summer for $250 million.
Wow.
I think I bought it for $30,000 an acre.
Okay, so lunch is on you.
Yes.
Let's go get lobster. It's more expensive than lobster.
I know. I didn't sell it for that much. I'm not selling it for that much. We sold it for like $60,000 an acre.
There you go. I love that you said, your dialogue about what are you looking at right now, because I have always said and keep telling everybody, like, these cycles or like velocity of money or velocity of whatever the markets are doing. I always said it always comes back, but it comes back differently. It's a classic example of that. Like you're looking at other things. So that's pretty cool that you're able to see that. It's a tremendous skill set for an entrepreneur. In fact, actually one of the most important skill sets.
Yeah.
Why don't you expand on the fact that it's coming differently, and what would you have done like 10 years ago or 15 years ago versus this new cycle? You're looking at other things. Like it's coming back. Now what I'm doing. How do I see it?
Right. So now there's always two different kinds of water. There's like legally, the state will let you pump so much water, and then there's actual wet water. Finding wet water used to be the biggest problem, and then the state, you could usually work yourself through. At the state level in Arizona, that's no longer true. The governor shut down letting new wells kind of go in the ground and pump for production. So now, I'm out looking for sites or pieces of land that have water associated with them, are already tied up, those state rights. I can still solve the water problem by drilling wells, the actual wet water. On the power side,
are you just putting a lot of cycles around? You have everybody pedaling. There's a lot of people pedaling.
Yeah, for sure.
I fixed the power problem. You look really thin. What are you doing? Creating power.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Spin class?
Yeah. It's all
It's
spin.
like a spin class.
It's all spin. On the power side, like in New Mexico, because that property's so big, we've worked ourselves into some optionality there with solar and batteries. We have 1.4 gigawatts of solar deals cut.
Wow.
And then we have 1.4 gigawatts of battery power deals cut.
Oh, so you're like a major player in
So we'll be
solar.
a generator.
Wow.
And then I'm going to try, and with that generation, I also have sites that are entitled and have water and sewer and are ready for data centers. So I'm trying to generate my own power and then deliver the power and the site to the people. I think we're probably in the first to second inning of this power problem. I think you'll see tons and
But you're
tons
ahead of the.
language
You're
on that.
already ahead. You're already thinking that out. You're already,
I don't know if I'm ahead of it, but I
You're
know
ahead
that
of
it's
it.
there. I know the problem's there.
That's fantastic.
In your region, too, I would imagine. I'm sorry. I know this is an off-the-cuff question, but in New Mexico and Arizona, it's probably New Mexico especially. It's got to be tougher to get like that water and wet water, right?
It's very Arizona. Both have become very hard.
Okay.
Very hard.
Yeah,
very
sorry.
difficult.
I had to ask that. It
No,
was
it's
just in the
very
back of my
difficult.
mind. Anytime I think of New Mexico, I just automatically go to Breaking Bad. So I was like, let me
Yeah.
get someone. Let me
Yeah,
let me go
actually.
straight to a local and just figure out these answers.
There's solutions for the water.
Okay.
The water. I understand why people are sensitive to it.
Yeah.
But people kind of forget too that the locals are drinking the water. It's not like I've been accused of building wells and shipping the water to China, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. How would I even do that? I don't get it.
Jeff,
But
I can't see you
pipe.
doing that.
that'd be a long
Who's
pipe.
making these accusations?
Yeah.
We gotta go find it. Yeah, Jeff. So even though I'd have to say, like, everything that you've talked about so far, I've loved it. So I already brought up the cowboy logic and all that good stuff, and we've talked about your success, right? And we've talked about your failures as well. I got a random off-the-cuff question again, but I'm wondering, if money were no object, what else would you be doing right now? What else would you do with your life?
What would I do with my life? I'd definitely be working. I would
tell.
be in real estate still.
Nice.
I have my commitments that I would keep to my investors and my team, my employees, or my team members. I think I'd try to work on housing affordability.
Wow.
And I'd try to use the skill sets we have to try to figure out how to close that gap up. Because I do think the middle class is struggling and having a hard time. And I think everybody deserves a home. That's not really a Republican or a
Jeff
Democrat.
for president?
Yeah,
Jeff for
exactly.
president. I knew we
That
were
was
thinking at the
good,
same
yeah.
time, Mike. As soon as you said it, I was like,
Yeah, I'm
I
voting
vote
for
for
him.
Jeff.
Yeah, I'm writing him in.
got my vote.
Yeah.
But it's not a Republican or Democrat issue,
No, of
really.
course not.
Every
It's just a
family
human
deserves
issue.
a home. Oh,
Yeah,
exactly.
like we
Everybody
talked about.
deserves a home and a good place to go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff. Man, I got to say, everything you talked about today is just, we got so many amazing nuggets to take from it, but you've been phenomenal as a guest, and we just thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. You're the poster child of what an entrepreneur should be, how they live, and what they want to do. So, it's really fantastic. Very impressive.
Thank you.
I'm proud to be your friend, I think.
Thank
Are you proud to be my friend?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's mutual.
You really, when you say something like that, you wait for this other person to
Who's
say it.
buying lunch?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm buying lunch.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks
please.
for coming on.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, pleasure meeting you too,
Yeah.
Jeff.
All
Nice
right,
to
Mike.
see you. Yeah.
Can I still get a ride home?
Yes. 100%.
Mike, thank you so much for getting Jeff on the show, man. He was just such a great guest. And I know, obviously, I can see how close you guys are, but everything he talked about resonated with me. And I know I already brought up the cowboy logic, but I got to also bring up again the humanistic factor that we talk about. And I know that you and I have had those discussions as well, but it's so important. I've worked in corporate America jobs before where people truly don't care about you. And I'm sure that we've had that feeling, but when someone looks at you as a number and, expendable, it just doesn't matter, right? But someone cares about you as a human being, and it's more than just a coworker, an employee. When my manager or boss cared, that's when I was my most productive. And that's when I was like, I'm not only going to bust my butt for myself and make as much money as I can for myself.
You feel good about it.
But also for that manager too. And so, yeah, Mike, I know that you could probably resonate with that too, man.
Absolutely. I mean, we're close friends because Jeff is a very good human being, most importantly,
I could tell.
as you heard during this whole episode. Yeah. And he's also has a tremendous amount of humility. I mean, I had to actually drag him here. He was like, I don't want to talk about myself. So he doesn't like talking about himself, but it's like his success is extraordinary, and the way he shares it and the what he thinks. My takeaways from an entrepreneur, other than the fact that he's an amazing human being, and I am proud to be his friend, is that he talked about this velocity concept, which I think is so important to, like, what is the momentum? Because momentum will take you many places as far as whatever your project you're trying to do. I also like the fact that he talked about his pivot. Like, what do you do? How do you pivot? Yeah. What are those features or factors? And I also like his loyalty. Like he's acutely aware of it's not, it takes a village. And what do you do with that? How do you keep your village together? How do you become the mayor of your village, and how do you keep getting reelected, for lack of a better description? And he keeps doing it. As we made a joke and said, Jeff for president, because he's got his, pardon the expression, but he's got his shit together.
Exactly.
So I don't know. It was really great. I think it was really motivating. It was even motivating to me listening to somebody that is really moving always in the right direction.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching Read the Tape.
Yes, please go like, comment, share, subscribe to all of our channels and our platforms, and we'll see you next time.